In 1422, after an attempt of interference in the succession of the Ottoman sultans by the Byzantine Emperor Manuel II, Murad II of the Ottoman Empire had enough with the Byzantines and marched right into their territory. The Turks had acquired their first cannons, but both sides were technologically matched, and the Turks had to build barricades. The Turks invaded on the 10th of June, but the siege was lifted as Murad II had to deal with an internal rebellion in the empire caused by his brother. After ascending back onto the throne after the death of his father, Mehmed II was focused on finishing the battle that his father had started, the conquering of Constantinople. He would begin by devoting himself to strengthening the Ottoman navy and preparing for the final invasion. Mehmed would also build a giant fortress, later called Rumeli Hisari, to cut off any potential navy help that could come to the Byzantines' aid. The Ottomans had begun to place large, powerful cannons outside of the walls of Constantinople, powerful enough to break the walls. In the meantime, Constantine XI Palaiologos had sought help from major powers in Christendom. Hungary refused to assist, but Pope Nicholas V saw this as an opportunity to reunite the Orthodox and Catholic Church. Orthodox leaders at the time voted in favor for this, but the population of Constantinople was adamantly against the reunification of the two churches and rioted in response. The attempted unification of the churches failed, greatly annoying the Pope. The army that was to defend the Byzantine Empire was relatively small, totaling 7,000 men, 2,000 of whom were foreigners. Constantine ordered to check how many citizens were able to fight for the army, but despite the great size of the city, a total of 4,773 Greeks and 200 foreigners were accounted as able-bodied. The Byzantines were scraping the bottom of the barrel in hopes of being able to pay for any foreign soldiers. Volunteering mercenaries led by Giovanni Giustiniani was the only outside help that came to the city's aid. His forces numbered 700 to 1,000 soldiers, primarily composed of well-disciplined and heavily armored Genoese troops. The Ottomans, however, had an army somewhere between 50, 200,000 soldiers, or maybe even more than that. They also had 70 cannons, an elite infantry corps, and thousands of soldiers from Christian countries. Mehmed had also built a fleet of ships to besiege the city from the sea. On the 5th of April, the Sultan arrived with his last troops, and the defenders assumed their positions. Due to insufficient Byzantine numbers, only the outer walls were guarded. Constantine and his Greek troops defended the vulnerable Mesotikion, the middle section of the land walls near the river Lycus. Giustiniani was initially stationed north of the emperor at the Corisian Gate. Soldiers from Venice were at the Blachernae Palace, and commanders Cataneo and Theophilus Palaiologos held positions to the south. Filippo Contarini guarded the land walls from Pigi Gate to Golden Gate, and Demetrius Cantacuzenus defended the southernmost Theodosian wall. Various forces guarded the sea walls. Mehmed began by sending out some of his troops to take down the Byzantine strongholds outside of the city. The cannons that Mehmed had set up fired on the city's walls for weeks, but since the cannons were so slow and imprecise, the Byzantines were able to repair most of the damage after each shot, mitigating the effect of the Ottoman artillery. The Ottomans were also not able to enter with the fleet of ships due to a chain that the defense of the city had set up at the entrance, so Mehmed ordered a road of greased logs to be built, bypassing the chain barrier. An attempt was made to destroy the Ottoman ships already in the Golden Horn using fire ships, but the Ottomans forced the Christians to retreat with many casualties. The ships, now having managed to circumvent the chain, seized control of all of the waters, fully encircling the city. On orders of Mehmed, the captured Christians were impaled on stakes, in sight of the city's defenders. In retaliation, the defenders brought their Ottoman prisoners, 260 in all, to the walls, where they were executed one by one before the eyes of the Ottomans. The Ottoman army had made several frontal assaults against the walls of Constantinople, but all of them had been costly failures. After these attacks, the Ottomans sought to break through the walls by constructing tunnels. But the Byzantines had captured 2 Turkish generals and tortured them to tell the locations of the tunnels, which made the Byzantines able to intercept the tunnels and destroy them. On May 21st, Mehmed dispatched an ambassador to Constantinople, proposing to end the siege if the city surrendered. The terms included allowing the emperor and its residents to depart with their possessions, recognizing the emperor as governor of the Peloponnese, and ensuring the safety of those opting to remain. Constantine, however, remained unwilling to surrender without resistance, and was reported to say, "As to surrendering the city to you, it is not for me to decide or for anyone else of its citizens, for all of us have reached the mutual decision to die of our own free will, without any regard for our lives." On the 25th of May, the War Council of Mehmed's generals decided that a final assault should be launched against Constantinople. The Ottomans mobilized their soldiers for the general offensive. A small Venetian fleet that had searched the Aegean reached Constantinople and informed Constantine that no large Venetian relief fleet was on its way. On 28th of May, as the Ottoman army prepared, mass religious processions were held in the city. In the evening, a solemn last ceremony of Vespers was held in the church of Hagia Sophia, while Turkish artillery shot upon the walls. Shortly after midnight on the 29th of May, the offensive began. While casualties were many, some of the Ottomans managed to breach a section of the wall but were pushed back by the defenders. But during this battle, Giustiniani was seriously injured. This caused panic inside of the ranks of the defenders. This caused a retreat of Giustiniani's troops to the harbor of the city. Constantine redirected his men to defend the breach and successfully held them back for a while. But eventually the defense was overwhelmed, leading to some defenders abandoning their posts in an attempt to protect their families. It is said that Constantine held his final speech in the street of the city declaring, "God forbid that I should live as an emperor without an empire. As my city falls, I will fall with it. Whoever wishes to escape, let him save himself if he can, and whoever is ready to face death, let him follow me." Throwing aside his purple imperial regalia, then leading the final charge against the incoming Ottomans, perishing in the ensuing battle in the streets alongside his soldiers. Alternate accounts suggest the emperor took his own life, but his fate remains uncertain. After the assault, the city was captured by Mehmed.